Hello, BookTube, and welcome to Cimmerian September 2025. This is Michael K. Vaughan's great event where we talk about Robert E. Howard and Conan and all the other creations of Robert E. Howard. And I have not been doing that. I've been talking about Conan nonstop all month, but not from Robert E. Howard. I've been reading prestige fiction, specifically in the old black and white Savage Sword of Conan magazine from Marvel Comics back in the 1980s, when all the world made sense. And it's been a lot of fun. I read Savage Sword of Conan in its earliest years. I read it as it was coming out, and really enjoyed it. The first 50 issues, I don't know how many times I've read the first 50 or so issues, and I kept reading till around issue 100. And I keep saying on this channel that I stopped around 100 because maybe I hit 2 or 3 issues in a row where I didn't particularly like the artwork. That could be true, but looking back, it could also be that I was traveling and just didn't have access to comics. But I found a stack of them at the Brattle Bookshop last month and thought ahead to Cimmerian September and thought, why not read one of those a day in case you don't get around to any Robert E. Howard? And I haven't. Instead, I've been reading these issues. And last night I read this one, Savage Sword of Conan number 131, with another Joe Jusko cover that does not appeal. I don't know who that turkey neck crackhead is on the cover there. I don't know, but the issue itself was written by Don Carr with artwork by Dave Simons, and it felt a little long, which is bad. I mean, these issues are overlong, no doubt about it at all. It's one of the things that the modern Titan Books Savage Sword of Conan magazine gets right, is that they don't just give you a 60-page Conan comic book. They break it up. There's lots and lots of stuff, whereas this is like a 40-page Conan adventure that could easily have been 30 pages or 20, and then one backup feature that's really quite bad. So there were times in this story when it felt long and felt like it was meandering. Felt like, once again, as we've seen in earlier issues, like there was padding. This takes place in the steppes of Terrania, so we are once again dealing with King Yezdegerd, which is the dumbest name. He's a prominent character in Conan comic books. I wish that there were a better name to go with. But Conan and his Kozaki raiders are wreaking havoc as usual in the neighborhood, and they encounter a young woman who is destined for Yezdegerd's harem, and that embroils them in not only palace intrigue and palace conflict, but also in the King Yezdegerd doesn't like Conan. It would like very much to eliminate him and all of his raiding bands. And a lot of these stories, that's just for the mill for a lot of these stories. I didn't like the story very much, and I didn't like the artwork at all. The artwork by Dave Simons struck me as boring, choppy, wooden, unfinished, just sitting there. He needs to get things done. On this page, a character fights with Conan. On this page, a character flees from Conan. And he seems to just draw those with very little in the way of bravura, very little in the way of, I don't know. This is the demon. There is, of course, a demon in the issue. That is the demon. And that's that's actually a better picture. Let me show you. Once Simons actually shows us the demon instead of a conjured image, we get this thing. That is not very frightening. Not at all. That is a Judas Priest fan. But at one point, the artwork is secondary to me in the sense, when I'm reading pastiche fiction, that the main thing should be that the pastiche fiction feels right, that it feels like I'm reading Conan. And there were a couple of moments when this did not. There's, for instance, a knife fight that Conan has with, another character at one point. First of all, that the proportions don't look right there at all. That's Conan. He's overdressed. He's got Turanian garb on, but they are both fighting with. Each one has a pair of these little daggers. And Conan says, "You've got the honor of a jackal," which I took personally. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person on book 2 who's ever cuddled with a jackal. They don't have any honor, but that's a dumb concept anyway. Humans don't have any honor. But they're quite nice. They're quite sweet people. He says, you have the honor of a jackal. And the other guy says, honor? What's that? Something to prevent fools from taking what they want, that's all. And Conan says, it's all the reason I'll need to kill you. And the man says, you're having a hard time doing it, Cimmerian, but if you'll grow tired and just want to rest and let your guard down, it'll all be over. A little too wordy for a Conan story, and that's all right. I mean, the artwork is nothing at all. It's just nothing at all. It's not exciting. There's no sense of motion at all. That wouldn't have bothered me so much, but at one point, Conan downs his opponent, has a knee on one of the guy's hands so that he is helpless. He is not going to fight anymore. And Conan has learned that the man has dipped his dagger tips in poison. Frida Yoga. The only reason that you tune into this channel is Frida Yoga. She has occasionally been making forays to her throne, but she doesn't like being there for very long because it's raining outside. So I imagine her little nose is getting spattered with rain, her mortal enemy. But it's not just... Anyway, it's not just that Conan goes on and on talking in this fight. It's that when he has the man down, he nicks his wrist with a poison dagger to see if it will kill him. And it does. It kills him horribly, and then his men hail him. And that didn't strike me as right at all. Not at all that Conan would do that. There was one sort of clever bit. There is an absolutely useless fop of a guy, this guy, Prince Tovan, who is... He's all throughout the story, but at the end, all of his men get killed. And while they're dying in a hail of arrows, all he's thinking about is himself. He's thinking, this is what I'll be remembered for, the massacre at the Paraska River. My entire command annihilated. And we keep the focus on him. No one is paying any attention to him. These riders are riding right past him. But the focus is kept on him as he wanders through this marsh. Where is the magic of the black circle now? First the winged demon failed me, and now this. I knew it. What a fool I've been. The forces of darkness desert even their most loyal followers. What gods will now save me? Where can I find refuge? And it keeps going on like that. Too long. I mean, if you're going page after page following this fop as he runs from one hiding spot to another, if you're doing page after page of that, you are padding your story. And it doesn't do him any good. He ends up suffering the ultimate penalty anyway. So, I don't know. I think I would have preferred this. Of course, when I read an issue like this, I think, what would this exact issue be like? Same dialogue, same words, if it had been drawn by somebody else. If it had drawn... I was imagining things by the end. Not just John Buscema, which of course would be the dream story, but George Perez. George Perez. What would it be like if it had been drawn by him? But no, instead I got a make-weight issue. This would have been the kind of thing that would have stopped me from buying Conan. Because this was what? Yeah, this was $1.50 on the stands. Which was a lot of money. for a comic book that I was going to read and not like, mostly argue with. So not a great Cimmerian September installment last night, but hope springs eternal. We still have a week, so I will keep going. And I will let you know how it turns out. Thank you, BookTube.